What's up everyone, welcome back to the second video in my How to Get Better at Fortnite series. Today I'm going to be talking about keybinds and how they can help you become a better player at Fortnite. Okay, let's start off in game. I'll jump into the settings menu here. And then we'll click on the tab which has the little arrow keys. It's called the input tab. Now there's a whole list of keybinds here. I'll go through the ones that I actually change. A lot of these I do leave the same. I'll just go through them individually now. I leave all these the same. I don't change this. In fact, the first thing that I change is the harvesting tool. Now in the game we've got some weapon slots. 5 different weapon slots. And the default setting for the keybinds is to use number 1 as the harvesting tool. For me that doesn't make sense. I've got 5 weapon slots. I want to use keys 1 to 5 for those weapon slots. So I'm going to change the harvesting tool. Now on my mouse I actually have a couple of thumb mouse buttons. I'll try and get that. Okay, so I've got a forwards and a backwards button on the side of my mouse. Now I like to use one of those buttons for communicating in game to my teammates, and the other one I can use for something else. In Fortnite I like to use the forward mouse button for my harvesting tool. So whenever I switch from a weapon to back to my harvesting tool, I press the thumb mouse button. Now that we've changed that one, we can change all these weapon slots to relate to numbers 1 through 5. So weapon slot number 1 will be number 1 on the keyboard, and we'll continue up to weapon slot number 4. Now weapon slot number 5 is something that I do have different, and it's where I like to keep my heal items when I'm playing. So I'll change the weapon slot number 5 to H, which kind of makes sense, H for heal. And we keep going down. Alright. Now we've got the building keybinds. I think using the function keys F1 through to 5, they're too far away from my hand and I'll often make a mistake when I'm trying to select the one that I want. And using the scroll wheel is far too inaccurate, I think. I'll try and demonstrate that in game. So the first thing that I change is the wall to a Q, the floor to F, so F for floor, roof to C, stairs to Z, or Z if you're American, and then trap to T, so T for trap. Now the reason I chose these keys is because they're quite close to where my hand rests on the keyboard. They're very near the W, A, S and D default position for your hand. The only other thing that I change is push to talk, and I set that to my thumb mouse button as I mentioned earlier. Okay, there is another part of the menu that I'd like to look at, and so we'll just go into the second tab here, which is the game tab. Up the top we can see the mouse sensitivity for the X and the Y axis. By default 0.28 is far too high for me. I'm used to having a very low sensitivity mouse, and I'll explain that in another video later. But just for now I'll drop these down to something that I prefer. You might find that dropping these down will help you a little bit too. These numbers probably won't be suitable for your mouse settings. Okay, now that's done, we'll jump back into the main menu. Now I'm going to jump into a game to show how the keybinds affect how I play. I'll be playing in the playground mode. If you haven't played it yet, it's a very good mode to practice your building in. It's just you and your squad, or just you on your own, and you can run around. There's lots of mats when you hit things. For this video I'll just jump into retail. So, when I've got a few items in my inventory, you can see I've got my primary weapon on number 1 at the moment. I can just press number 1, 2 and 3 to switch between them. The numbers 1 through 3 are very easy to press from your default key positions. In fact, I can keep holding forwards while I switch between my weapons. So I'm holding W and still moving forwards. That's one beneficial thing. If it was on the default settings and my first weapon would be on the number 2 key, I would find it much more difficult to switch. In fact, I'm just trying to run through these now. I'll just move this over. Now while I'm walking forwards, I find it quite hard to hit number 2. I have to change the way that I use my hand, and I think it's a little bit slower for switching. So having a weapon on number 1, yeah, it's much easier for me mentally to use this. Now I'll run through the changes to the building keybinds. So as I said before, Q is for the wall, F was for floor, Z is for Z height, and then C is for the roof, which I don't really use very much. And then T is for trap, but that's fairly self-explanatory. Now, how does changing these keybinds make it easier for you to build? Now, the default way to build would be either to press one of the F keys and then you can scroll through it or keep pressing more F keys, or I think you can press Q and that switches between your inventory, your weapon slots, or the building pieces. What you could have done in the past is you can scroll and then change what you want, and after a while you scroll floor up, you can do it, and I'm probably not the best at it because I don't use it all the time, but I did find in the past that even after I had been playing for quite a while, I still wasn't as fast as some of these people that I was coming up against in the game. They were just building way faster than I could, and the secret to that is these custom keybinds. Now, I've been playing quite a lot, and I would say that I've got a decent amount of experience in building now. Just got some more materials. Since changing these keybinds, I can make much more intricate structures very, very quickly. And that comes after a lot of practice, but also due in part to changing these keys to be something which is closer to my default hand position. So if I were to move forwards, I can quickly change to Z, so I can be aggressive as I'm pushing. If I want to floor out, if I'm going off a building for example, and I want to go out from it, I don't have to press an F key which is quite far away and might even cause me to take my hand off the directional keys. So I press F for floor and now I can build and walk forwards. And as before, I can quickly press number 1 because it's not too far away from my hand and it's not awkward, and I'm back to my gun. So I build and I'm right back to my gun. And so I'll just try and run around part of the town, and I'll try and do it without keybinds. I'll build around some of these buildings, so I'll just scroll through the building materials, and then I'll try a similar thing on another building, and I'll just show you the difference. So I'll run up. Okay, that worked alright. I think I could do it quicker still using my keybinds, which I can reach easily from my hand position. So here I can run up. You can make more complicated things. So quite quickly I put down this 3-piece structure. To do something exactly the same using scroll, there we go. And I wasn't really paying attention to where I was walking there, and I exposed my head above this edge here. And in the game that could be disastrous. So we'll just try the same thing again. Okay. Yeah, and I have to think quite a lot. It's most likely because I'm not experienced with this. But yeah, it requires 3 very precise movements of my hand in order to select the right material when building complicated structures. But when using custom keys, you know exactly which material you're going to be selecting, or which building piece that you're going to be selecting. And so in the end, if you have enough practice, you can start building complicated things. And I made a couple mistakes there. Now I think the first benefit that you'll find is defending yourself in a fight. Sometimes somebody will surprise you, you don't know where they're shooting from. And so you want to hide behind something or build yourself some cover. Now hiding behind something is usually a lot slower than building. It's just how this game works. So I'll just build a few more things just to show you how quickly you can switch from piece to piece. I'll just build this really weird structure up into the sky. And it probably will look like I'm spamming, just using anything that comes to mind, but I'll try and make it fairly structured. So you can quickly make yourself a base and defend yourself when you're getting attacked. I don't think you could scroll that quickly while moving around while getting shot at. You can only do this if you've got custom keys. Alright. And so that's a fairly strong structure in a very short period of time. It would take quite a bit of effort to break one of these things down. Okay, well that's about all I have to say regarding keybinds. I find that they help me change weapons much faster, select building materials quicker, and get back to my harvesting tool much faster than I can when using the scroll wheel or the default settings. In an upcoming video I'll run through some methods to follow when building to protect yourself. So something like this would be an example, but there's going to be many others as well, which you will see at a later date. Well, that concludes the second video in this Fortnite guide. Be sure to tune in next week when I go over some methods and strategies that you can use to help stay alive while you're playing Fortnite. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.